Wheel of Time, Episode 7, Season 3, Perrin GoldenEyes. Oh, that was one, y'all. Fresh off of it. Oh, man, that was one of them ones. And I was just saying, man, I need more from Perrin. I was like, what? I need more from Perrin. What is he going to do? Like, we just keep getting little tiny little bits of little things here and there. We're not really getting much. And guess what we got? A whole episode dedicated to this man. Oh, this felt so much like, and I hope I'm not going to continue referencing Lord of the Rings all the time. But this felt like one of the OG3 almost. Like one of the battles of the OG3 I kept thinking about. Like when they were fighting. I'm not that up on it, you know what I mean? But when they were fighting that battle and trying to hold through the night so that Gandalf can come in the morning, you know? Like, what is it? Though you may endure for a night, light comes in the morning. Something like that. And they held and they were able to stop it. But this time it felt like that battle, but he was able to kind of work things out so that they didn't have to fight through the entire night into the morning. So let's just get into it. Let's go wild. I can't necessarily turn that off right there. All right, I can't necessarily recall absolutely everything because I didn't take any notes. I just watched. Like I just completely zoned in and took a look. So let's go ahead and let's try to do this by character. And if we wheel off, then we wheel off. It's the wheel. A lot of emotions this episode. A lot of wins, a lot of victories, a lot of losses. A lot of almost losses. And a lot of growth. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to get started on Alanna. So I guess if it's all about like the two rivers. We didn't leave it all. So let's just stay in the area. So we have Alanna. She's there with the kids. She's teaching them. I'm going to go to Maksim as well. Maksim is teaching some of the older men how to, spear some stuff. But they're like, we're better at the longbow than we are at the spear. Alanna's over there teaching the two Cauthon sisters how to channel. A little bit, just how to channel. They're not actually going to channel it in this episode. Well, they're not supposed to be fighting necessarily this episode because they just started learning how to, even touch the one power on purpose. So Alanna's like, okay, you're just going to link with me, and I'm going to borrow some of your power and combine it with my own so that we can, fight and everything. And they're like, oh, are you going to do lightning? Because the last chick that was here, the last Aes Sedai that was here did a little lightning, and I thought that was real cool, So she's like, she doesn't answer. She kind of was like, all right. But yeah, Moraine did show out when she was there. She should have combined with somebody, but she didn't know. But anyway, they're training, and then in the time that I guess it took for the Trollocs to kind of formulate and things like that, Perrin was able to help the people of the Two Rivers set up several defenses. So they have a mountain area, like where they're gonna hold them at the mountain. They have like just before the camp almost, there's another hold right there. And then I believe there's one more, and then the square. But I would have had to take notes for that. And this is just raw. Like I said, this is right after watching. So they have the square to hold, and then they have, I believe, not the armory, but the middle area. Well, they're basically in the village now. So you got to hold that or else, type vibes. They also have, they have it kind of sharpened. They have spears at the end. It's wood, so it faces outward. That way they can have these strongholds. And it's just great battle planning because the army of Trollocs, they don't know how many it's going to be, but they know it's going to be up there. They know they're going to be outnumbered. And they're not soldiers, as they mentioned in the last episode. They needed some confidence and stuff like that. And they also needed to be trained. They have a few defenses. They have some of the men. They have villagers in general. Perrin went back to blacksmithing a little bit, so he's making, he made himself some armor. And he had a bunch of, like, swords. They were making their own swords. He had a couple boys in there helping him with blacksmith. He was, sharpening blades and getting hammers made and axes sharpened and stuff like that and handing it out basically to people so that they can train. And then we have the women's circle who come in handy a little later as well. They're practicing. They have shields, so everybody has shields and stuff like that. They have battle plans going, and it's working out. They still have Bain and Chiad. I'm going to call it Chiad in this episode. They have Loial. And he has like a big, like not an axe, it's like a big bludgeoner, I'll say. Like kind of like a hammer, but the hammer is not bigger than the hold itself. So they have that, and then another she's not Aes Sedai, she can just touch the power and see the weaves. It's the wisdom. So it seems like all their wisdoms, whenever they ascend, they're basically women who are able to see the weaves, therefore can channel, have some, modicum of ability to channel, or maybe awareness of it. And then she's like, so do you want to join with me and help fight? And she's like, depends on if I have to stop drinking. It's like, girl, alright. Alanna and Maksim, they kind of break up because they're like, they break off from their groups that they're training for the moment. They come together and they're like, well, how's it going with yours? And he's like, we're gonna die here. Because, like, they're fighting me on these spears. I'm trying to train them up, and they want to shoot arrows, but I don't know how your arrow shooting is. We're gonna die here. And, he's like, how's it going with yours? And she was like, oh, there's a channeler here. So we're gonna see how that goes. Later on, I was wondering what the content warning above was. I was like, who's it gonna be? Who? It was them. But good for them in a way, because it's like, they go up to the room and they're having like conversation or whatever, and they're bonding and stuff. It's right before the battle, and he comes up and he's like, do you want these stewed prunes or whatever it was? It's like stewed something that she wasn't a fan of, and he's like, or fresh figs. And she's like, ooh, figs? What, they got figs here? Yes, ma'am. She likes some fruit. So she goes over and she's like, yeah, let me get that fruit. And he's like, here's the fig, the stewed something something. So she looks down the bowl and it's the stewed creation that they have there in the Two Rivers, and she was like, He's like, well, I wasn't lying about the figs though. And he has one fig, takes a bite out of it, and then she's like, hey, share it, you know what I mean? And he hits the whole thing. He's like, do you feel it through the bond? Because that's why he was up there. Basically, she was like, well, do you want me to turn off the bond for a little bit of peace before the battle? And he's like, no, if this is our last night, I don't want to miss any of you, basically. And I was like, all right, we'll shoot. You know what I'm saying? He eats the fig, and then they're kind of playing around, you've been a human for a while, so you know how it is. Like, people just flirting with each other, basically. And then, they be kissing and stuff like that, and then she kind of, like, falls back into the mode of how they used to be when Ivan was still alive, and then he's like, no, stop. He stops her, and he's like, that's what he used to do. We're making something new together. And then, so, it was just a moment of connection after so long, and he wasn't her favorite, but they're all each other has now, and they are learning that they actually do. It seemed to me, they rediscovered their passion for each other, and their love and their kindness and their care for each other, and that it is enough between them as well. So they reestablished that connection. I was happy for them. It cut very tastefully. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, we can go ahead and cut now. Boom! We out of there. We go down to Perrin. Perrin's still kind of fighting off the leadership a little bit, but they're starting to call him Lord Perrin, and he's like, don't call me that. Don't call me that. No. He tries to, he's like having doubts about his leadership, basically. He's like, what if I'm not ready? What if this, what if that? And Fail, which is her name, the love interest, I like her now. She may be dark friend, but she's not dark friend yet. I don't know. If she is, then she tricked me like that nephew with the perm last season. But if she isn't, I'm happy to like her now. So she cool. She kind of gives him somewhat of a pep talk, but then he's like, we got to speak to those people, and we get to those people, and those people are the Whitecloaks, because they're still in town. And they've been fighting the Trollocs and stuff, too, this whole time, so I really don't know what the problem was. But basically, Dain Bornhold comes up, and Perrin goes over just outside the gates to basically ask for aid against the Trollocs, because there's going to be 50,000 million Trollocs coming up from the mountain pass. They already know they're coming. They already know they're going to attack tonight. So we need some help. Can the Whitecloaks help us? And the Whitecloaks, he's like, why would I help you? Why is that something I would do? If they don't finish you, we will. We'll run it back and finish y'all. And he's like, is that the right thing to do? And he's like, well, forget the little right thing to do. You killed my dad, bro. Like, you unalived my father. And he's like, I did, and I'm sorry. Are you sorry about what you did to Matt's mom? And I was like, all right, tit for tat. And I don't know about that one. That one happened a little later. He didn't really do that until then. And then I was like, oh, I didn't like it either. But I'm like, It's like when somebody makes an argument and you're kind of on thin ice at that point. You're like, oh, I was with you. I'm trying to be with you, but it's slippery out here. And then Dain's like, I don't think he says anything, but he's like, she paid for your grief and your father paid for mine. When does it stop, basically? And Dain ain't really going for it in the moment. He's like, it stops when I get justice for the light and stuff like that. And justice for the light, we don't know what that means at the end of the episode, but in that part of the episode, we know that means he just wanted to get Perrin up out of here. Out of this turn of the wheel, so to speak. He gets back on his horse and basically says, no, we're not going to help you. Perish. So they close the gate back up, go back in, basically with that bad news that they're not going to get any help. A little bit before that, I believe the Cauthon come in, as well as other refugees from the village. They also have refugees in the Whitecloak camp, but I guess we don't see that, But people are coming in from far and wide because the Trollocs are just just rampaging everything, bro. Just taking people out, forcibly removing them from this turn of the wheel, like, on their own, or the wheel's doing it, I don't know, allowing it at least. I need the Dark One to show up, because I'm trying to see, I'm like, what do you got going on? I need to talk to you. And some people are like, do people even know what the Dark One is? Do show watchers know what the Dark One? No, we don't know. And now that you say that, it makes me think he's orbs or something. Or not a he, I don't know. He might be something else, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, back to it, though. So he lets the Cauthon in and all the refugees. They come in, and I guess some of the refugees want to fight, so that's good. But we are able to meet up again with the woman who was there and the son who was there. But the girl was unalived, and it was the Trollocs. And then the grandfather also unalived, and could have been the Trollocs or anything, really, because they're just peaceful people, they don't, it's the way of the leaf. They don't do any violence, because that contributes to the cycle of violence. And we already know how they feel about that, because, Bain and Chiad are there, and they're like, I mean, he's cute, but, talking about the son, he's cute, but we wouldn't dirty ourselves with a lost one. So they call them lost ones. I was like, ooh, how rich, how rich of a even just of a sentence that is, as a contrast between a culture that came from another one, but now they have their own, basically, reinforcements of why they're right and why they're wrong, and how just they villainize each other in a certain way. It doesn't have to be violent villainization, but just the distaste for each other was so palpable even in that moment. They kept the distance from the way of the leaf people. I was like, how interesting that you would say that when you come from them. Do you know your history? Because technically they're the oath breakers. But the way of the leaf is hard, and I wouldn't be of the leaf. I would try, but I got too much, not rage, but I guess I'm similar to Dain in that way, where I'm like, if you do something, I'm going to remember that. I'll remember that. Or maybe I'm closer to Perrin, because I wouldn't let somebody just toast somebody up like a strudel because I'm mad at somebody else about something else entirely. I don't think I would do that. Anyway, back to it, though. I'm sorry. So the Cauthon come in. The guy, he looks like he wants to fight. Like, it's been looking on the whole episode, he looked like, I don't want to be nonviolent anymore. It's getting us nowhere. We're going to have nobody left. And Perrin kind of peeps this, and he's like, later on he calls them all to, a war meeting, the final little meeting they're going to have, because they know they're getting attacked that night. He invites the Cauthon in, the son and the mom. And then he's making battle plans, and he's telling them, we're going to hold them at the mountain. We're going to hold them at the river. We're going to hold them right outside. We're going to hold them in the square, at the gates in the square. of the village, and then last but not least, and she's like, why am I here? We would never pick up a weapon. He walks over, he's like, and I would never ask you to. We have women and children here, and you guys are the fastest, most swift people on 2 feet out here. And Bain and Chiad are in the back like, hold up, wait. And it's like, you guys are the same. It could apply to you too. You're the same. It's okay. But it was another interesting moment. And she was flattered by that, and she sees peaks in him of what she wants him to be. But unfortunately, like for Perrin and in this world, you can't be non-violent and make a difference just yet. Just yet. Maybe in people's hearts. Maybe. But it's gonna take a lot of leaves getting smashed. You know what I mean? But she sees a lot of good in him, and she has a soft spot for him. Even seeing peeping the axe that he held when she first got into the village. She was like, so you're back to it. Darn. It gives vibes of like somebody kind of walking up to you, and they were a mentor to you in your tough times. And they kind of feel you backslid in a way, because you have gone back to old ways, but you're not the same person. They just don't know that. But in their eyes, it's hey, back is back. Reverse is reverse. But I think she was able to see kind of peep, especially when he said like, no, I wouldn't ask you to pick up a weapon. I'm asking, can you take our babies, our children with you? Our babies, our children, some moms and stuff like that. Can you take them with you? The future of the 2 rivers on foot. Because you're fast and you're able to squeak away and get away. Like they're not going to pick up weapons to defend them, or so we thought. But at least they'll have a better chance, because after the first Trolloc kind of invasion, in season 1, the women's circle, they built like a tunnel going from the village into the forest so that they can kind of have a way out. I was like, oh, amazing. So first you have battle plans, you have strongholds. You have leagues of fighters that have different weapons. So you have a long range attack, you have a short range attack. You have different ages, different strengths. You have Aes Sedai and 1 Aes Sedai and two little, you know what I'm saying? Widgets, if you will. You're trying to work on like an alliance. It didn't work out, it didn't work out, he thought. But an alliance with another force that can come in and help you guys, which is the Whitecloaks, who are trained soldiers. And you also have yourself, I guess. You don't have no wolves, though. So I wouldn't mind the wolves. I didn't feel like they were missing in this episode. But it would have been an extra layer of defense. I just don't want to see any more of them get taken out. So I'm okay with them not being in there. But that would have been cool, too. Just a howl. And then next thing you know, just these big dire wolves. Like, I want at least dire wolf size. Like Game of Thrones wolf size. No more little hoppers, He was cool. But anyway, I was just very impressed. And then you have an escape route. Like you have a plan C or D. We're just going to get back into the throes of things. So, Bain and Chiad are over there chilling with Loial in the room. Loial is not, he's not getting ready to fight or anything like that. But he's writing up in this little book he has, He's still away from the steading, so he's not doing well. But he's still in decent spirits. He's like, you know what, if this is the last time I'm going to be with you guys, then let's go ahead and play Maiden's Kiss. And I was like, oh, we're doing a lot this episode, aren't we? I said, oh, all right. And they're both excited to play because they weird, bro. Because they're weird. I'm not getting on their culture. I'm just like, you just want to stab and kiss people, bro. All right. But they happily agree. And they're like, finally, and they do the sign language and whatnot. And then when they go to play, though, I think one of them goes in to kiss him, which is part of the game. You kiss, the kiss is bad, then the spear goes in the neck. Not the best of games. A lot of pressure. So she goes in to kiss him, but he moves his head, so they stick the spear in a little confused, though, because it's like, the point of the game is supposed to, you know what I'm saying? All right. So the other girl goes in, and she's like, all right, so he's not going to dunk me, though. So she went in for the kiss. He turned his head again. And she signed back. She's like, well, if he doesn't, then we go for the spear goes in. And then they're like, he's struggling and whatnot because there's a spear, 2 spears in his neck. They look at each other and they're like, well, nah, bro, we're not gonna do this. He's suffering and whatnot. So they're like, hey, we forgot to ask the roof mistress for permission to play this game in her household, so we can't play him anymore. And he's like, oh, for real? How many people die usually? Or sorry, how many people are unalive during this game? Or how many men, he says. And then they're like, well, a lot of men and a lot of women. I was like, what kind of game is this, for one? But for two, he was like, well, would you say by, like, stopping the game, you saved my life? And they're like, I guess. I was like, oh, okay. And he says, well, your toe has been repaid. And they were like, ah. I think it was Bain's toe. Like, oh, your toe has been repaid. Or Chiad. I don't know. And she was like, you used us in order to get us to go home. He's like, so you can go home, go back to your lands, before the battle comes, to try to save their lives. And then he kind of walks off and he's like, oh, you can't cheat us out of our toe. And then the other one was like, you know what? He did risk his life in order to save ours by sending us away so we have fulfilled our toe. And only one of us had toe. So now, since you saved my life too, then I am starting toe with you. And she's like, well, and wherever she goes, I go. I was like, well, they're sticking together. So we find this out because Loial is actually going to be the one to have to close the WayGate, because all of the Trollocs are coming out of the WayGate. They scouted, they found out that they come out of the WayGate and then they group up. So it's just going to be reinforcements after group after group. So they're like, all right, bro, we can't really hang with that. So Loial goes to Perrin and is like, hey, I got to close the WayGate and destroy it for good. And then Perrin's like, good. And when you do that, go home. Don't come back. It's okay. Somebody needs to write about this day so that we remember. And if we lose, then our names will go on. Someone can read about it. And then when they battle the dark, they'll win. And I was like, oh, how beautiful. If you think about it like that, then yeah, because I had a bit of trouble kind of placing his importance, his purpose within a mission full of action and violence, except for when he's fighting. Apparently, you could throw down. But yeah, I'm like, he's a peaceful kind of bookkeeper librarian dude. He's like much like Sam from Game of Thrones. Like, what you about to do? But if you think about it that way, like somebody does have to keep record of everything, and if you do, you can learn from what they did, learn from their mistakes and things like that. And I was even thinking, I was like, yeah, and you can put in your book exactly what battle plans they had and things like that, so that can be built upon in the future, especially if they lose. So I was like, bet I'm down with that. And it was lots of goodbyes and things like that. Bain and Chiad went with him, so I was like, we lost 2 warriors. But it's okay, because he needed 2, like, personal protectors. So I was like, okay, cool. At least, like, he'll have some help going to close the WayGate, because they still had a couple guards over there. So getting into the battle, remember, Padan is in town. He came in at the last bit of the previous episode. I believe it was episode 6. To the Whitecloaks, and remember, he had all this blood and stuff on him and stuff like that, saying that he had just come from some Trollocs. Meanwhile, he's the one with the Trollocs, so I guess undercover spy. So keeping that in mind, Perrin, who they call Lord Perrin now, to much to his disdain, he has another moment with Loial. And he's like, you should go. I don't want to watch you get unalived. And then Loial kind of pushes it. She's like, what, like your wife? Are you just telling me to go away because you don't want to see that axe on me like it was on your wife? And he was like, whoa, too far. You need to go. Get out right now. And she's like, don't dishonor me, basically. I'm choosing to fight. It is my choice. I'm choosing to fight, and warriors have honor when they go into battle and are remembered well after. So it is what it is. You can't do nothing about this little choice here. So you could choose to get with me on the battlefield, you know what I'm saying? Or you could choose to be upset. Either way, I'm gonna be here. She didn't say all that. She said it much cooler. But he finally comes around to it, and the battle is starting, The Trollocs are coming. There's screams and roars and stuff, and here we go. I can't really talk about the battle, moment for moment, but some standout moments come up, especially when they're out there, because Perrin goes out first to one of the first strongholds, and they're holding him back, they're fighting and stuff like that. Before then, he gives, I thought he was going to give a speech, like a Braveheart moment. Everybody starts looking at him, and it's slow motion and stuff, and I was like, oh, speech. Meanwhile, Alanna is up on, a cliffside, ready with the two girls and that lady, the wisdom. They're just ready to give, support, aerial support, you know what I'm saying? So that was good. And the ground fighters on the bottom. He kind of starts humming the song of Manethrin, and they sing, I believe, the first verse and chorus with him, and then the fight starts, because they're cut off. The archers go first, and then Maksim is like, oh, you were right about being good archers. So they just zap in. He's like, not loose. I was like, get up. It was really good. It was really good. They were getting them, and then they started losing a little bit just because of sheer numbers. The Trollocs started fighting back. They also had dark friends with them, so it was all kinds of mixes. It wasn't just Trolloc army. Everybody was very organized. They would fall back when necessary, and then they would, thrust forward when they needed to. So they retreated back to their second stronghold eventually. Everybody's throwing hands, cutting it up, throwing arrows and whatnot, knocking and loosening, and then Maksim getting busy too a little bit. And they end up right at the gates after that, but before that they do hold the second stronghold, and then Maksim lets Perrin go back and kind of check on Alanna and check on the girls and everything and see how they're doing. So he rides back into the gate and into the town, and it's not so far away, so you don't have to picture it being far. If you've seen the episode, So he rides back in, and then he goes to check on the girls, and so I'm sorry, I skipped. The only reason why he's able to go back and check on the girls is because Alanna pulls that air support. So she's like, link with me, girls. They link with her. She goes up to the weather, and I'm like, okay, bet it's about to be more lightning. Low key, I do think the lightning was cooler, but I like the visuals. It was cool. I just feel like just a little bit more. I just needed maybe 40% more. Not power, because I don't want her to end up frying the little girls, because we know what happened season 1 with Egwene and Nynaeve. She's like, I feel it all. Ma'am, feel it a little less. You're taking us out of here. But anyway. So she fries the sky a little bit, makes a little, circly tornado thing, but it doesn't turn into a tornado. That'd be cool. But they would have got behind the gates. So she pulls down, and it's a whole bunch of, hails, but sharpened ice hails, and they're just raining down like bullets, like knife bullets from the sky, and just taking them out. So they strategically withdraw, and that's when Perrin notices. I was like, this isn't how Trollocs fight. Trollocs fight like a pack of wild dogs, No offense to Perrin. Oh, you know what I mean? But they don't have order. They don't have strategy. They're just, as far as we know, they're just kind of, orcs had strategy, I feel. Okay, well, maybe like goblins from Lord of the Rings. They just go. They listen to one person, and they just go. So he's not used to them having a leader or anything like that. Something's fishy. So they come down. Alanna comes down. This is when Perrin goes back in the town to check on them. And then he's like, something's not right. This is not how Trollocs fight. And he's like, kind of sniffs the air, whatever. Just some kind of spidey senses, or in his case, wolfy senses go off. And then he's like, Alanna, get down. And I'm like, as soon as you hear your name in a war situation, I'm doing one of two things. I'm ducking down to the ground and shuffling forward, or I'm running. And in this case, I don't know. I would duck first, but it's you don't know, because you just hear your name shouted. So if you see something and my back is turned, I'm probably going to duck. I'm not going to just start running, because you're standing right there too. I don't know. You don't have a ton of time to think. So she turned around, but too late, and it went. I was like, no. Meanwhile, Loial and Bain and Chiad, they reached the WayGate, and they see there's only scramblings of guards by. It's a couple Trollocs, maybe 3, and a dark friend, evil chick, and they make quick work of them. And then they hold the WayGate, and he takes the little leaf he has, and he's like, it can only be closed from the inside. And he goes up He opens it up, and then they're like waiting for him at the bottom of the steps, and he's like, Bain and Chiad. I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher that this whole time, but will you watch my back, basically, and fight for me? And they're like, yes, we will. And so he goes in. He's like hesitating and taking his time and stuff. He goes in the WayGate. We see the lightning. That's the only way we see the structures. But we see heck of torches in the distance. Just torch after torch after torch. Thousands of torches. And they're like, we need reinforcements. That's why we keep cutting over to this scene, because their reinforcements are coming from the WayGate. They're fully expecting this. Back to the camp. So Alanna got skewered like a fish in the river around dinner time. And the girls, he's like, okay, get her to safety, move her. So they kind of shift her over. Maksim immediately feels the damage. He's like, oh! And they're like, is it your eyes to die? No. He's just having explosive diarrhea right now. Yeah, it's his eyes to die. But, I mean, obvious questions are going to come when you're not really thinking. You're like in battle, survival mode. You're going to ask stupid questions too. So it's alright. Grace is given. But yeah, he's like, Alanna, she's down. And I'm worried at that point. I'm like, please, can we get to healing? And then the girls, they're trying to heal, but they can't reach the power. She's like, it's okay, girls, you've done a lot today. I was like, no, it's not okay. Focus, ladies, young ladies. Come on. You are Matt's sisters. I don't know what that means, but he is the horn blower, and you are his sisters. The blood of Manetheren is strong in these ones. Huh? Come on, force be with you. Come on, and do something. Meanwhile, yeah, it seems as though they're being attacked from a place they didn't believe they were going to be attacked. So they start shooting that way and stuff like that. Move on out the way. And then we hear a horn blow. Bam, 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 bam. And then it's the Whitecloaks. And then Perrin's like, open the gate. I was like, no, don't open the gate. I was just suspicious. It was Dain and Child. Oh, not me forgetting right now. Valda. Child, Valda. And I'm sure Child by somewhere. That's the only Childs I know the names of right now. Children's. I don't know. Of the light. So they're coming in on horseback, and they're like, oh, you guys showed up to help us. How did you get past the Trollocs? And they're like, what Trollocs? There were no Trollocs. I was like, well, how did you get down over to us? Because they had, built up some areas and blocked off areas and blew the bridges and stuff for the river. So the only way to get to them was the mountain pass. And they're like, we took the mountain pass. And they're like, you didn't run into any Trollocs up there? Because there was a whole bunch of them. They're like, no. And then they're dismounting. Dain comes down and surprises me. Because I sure thought brother was bad. I think I just did a video saying how bad he was. Well, here we go. So he came down and he was like, I thought you said you wasn't coming. And he's like, it was the right thing to do. And I was like, okay. I didn't believe him at that point, though, because I was like, this gotta be a trap. You didn't run into any Trollocs. You just hear the right thing to do. I don't know the right thing in your mind. I don't know. But it turned out he actually didn't know Padan was a dark friend. Because as soon as, something was wrong, a little weird, heck of people were coming in. And then Perrin looked over. He saw Padan on horseback. He's like, that's Padan. He's a dark friend. Close the gate. And then Padan's like, hold the gate and attack. And then all the Trollocs start trying to run in. Several do. And they couldn't close the gate. So now they're fighting in the square, the last final stronghold. The gate was closed, but they let them in because it was a Trojan horse situation. Definitely a Trojan horse situation. And he was like, I didn't know he was a dark friend. He's like, you should have. And then they're fighting and stuff like that. So they're all fighting on the same side, but it would be such a hard fight because friendly fire is crazy. They're dressed up in your uniform. It's like being on a football team and everybody's wearing your colors. And you're like, I mean, you got helmets on and you practice with these people all the time, so you know their faces. But from a distance, though, you're like, oh, bet you got them. So you move out the way and they get a touchdown. It was kind of, okay, football on the mind. But yeah, they definitely use that to their advantage. All these dark friends running in here. The villagers are fighting down now. They're like, bow, they're over here. We got the women's circle. hold. They're over there putting the shields up. They're like, oh, they're teaming up against one Trolloc. I was like, hey, if we, women, we are sometimes, most of the time, physiologically smaller. We're built for a different purpose. But when we get to that purpose together, you know what I mean? We can make a new purpose. Because anyway, the point is, them ladies teamed up and took them down. Took them down. I was so mad at them Trollocs. I'm always mad at the Trollocs. But anyway, the lady turned around and told the lady, she said, go now. And so the Tuathalan, I had the name a little bit ago, but my mic died. Now I'm back and I don't got the name anymore. Tuathaan, I believe. The Way of the Leaf people, they said, book it. Take the tunnel, take our kiddos, and go. So the son and the mom, they grab as many people as they can, people who are waiting down there, people who can't fight, youngins and ladies who ain't really about to fight. And maybe even some old people, I don't know. And they take them through that tunnel and they get through to the forest. However, they are followed by one single Trolloc. And I was like, okay, I can understand that because we do need a moment. I saw it coming. He had been looking like he wanted to fight this one. And I was like, yeah, only one's going to come after them because if there were more coming after them, they would just be wiped out because they're not going to fight for one. For two, there's a bunch of children with them just running. No armor, anything, no defense. He's holding a baby and he rolls. You have to do the thing where you roll because the baby starts crying and gives them both away. I'm like, little baby, bruh. Y'all stay crying at the wrong times. You don't know. You're new to the world. But you didn't have to cry right now. The Trolloc takes out a person right next to him. And I was like, oh, man. And runs. He runs over. He ends up rolling. And then something falls out of his pocket. It's a sharpened blade. Maybe something used to shuck oysters or something. I'm not going to assume that he took a weapon. I'm assuming it's a tool. Because it was kind of jagged. It wasn't smooth like a knife or anything like that. But it was sharp. And had a handle. And I was like, you know what to do. I told myself he didn't have a choice. Because the thing was running at him. There was somebody else's baby strapped to his chest. He was laying down. Knife right there. I guess the choice would have been because his mom was over there around the corner. She wasn't able to do nothing. She just ran up and was ready to be sad. We bury our dead and move on. What else is there? Worst slogan ever. But she was ready to have that happen right after losing her daughter too, I guess. And he makes the choice I would have made. He picks up the tool and uses it for a different purpose. And the Trolloc said, oh, I'm shocked. I'm shocked somebody fought back when I was taking people apart and I didn't need to. Oh, I died like a monster. And I was like, okay, bet. And then whenever somebody headed out of here, it'll probably still be strike because I said unalive a few times. But anyway, whenever somebody headed out on the bad team, I was like, and I'll see you on another time of the wheel. Another turn for you. Because you could try again another time. I'm just kind of adapting to the point where, like, nobody actually stays gone in this world. Like, their soul gets spit out again. I'm just under that assumption that everything has that going for them. So I was like, yeah, and your time is up for this one. Back in the wheel, you go and wait for your turn to come on out again. Bell time. Yeah. Get out of here. So we go back to the battle. I'm sorry. Right before we go back to the battle, the Trolloc falls over. He's out of here. His time on the wheel has ended. And he looks over, he's shaking and everything. Baby not crying. I was like, now you know to be quiet. And the mom saw him. So he looks at her, she looks at him. And I'm like, oh, this is that Ruidian thing all over again, bro. He really didn't have his choice. He did have a choice. You always have a choice. He didn't want that one, though. But understood, though. I mean, I guess I can kind of understand, because it's like, death is not death here. Like, you're just waiting, and then you get spit out again. But it's like, it's not easy when you're fighting for your life to also be like, never mind, I'm not going to fight for it. Because in the moment, you're like, anything to survive. Anything. And he had already been teetering. Getting sick of just letting things be all the time. So, we get back to the battle. Alanna's still heading out, bruh. Maksim's suffering, but still fighting. He's like, are you gonna give up? Because, he gave the speech earlier than when the Whitecloaks came in. I'm sorry about that. I forgot. But he was just basically like, you gotta be, people who win battles aren't soldiers. People who win battles are people too stubborn to perish, to give up, to stop slicing. You know what I mean? Be annoying, be persistent, be stubborn. And that's exactly who they are. And he was like, can you manage that? Can you manage that, people of Two Rivers? And they're like, yeah, we got him. And it pepped me up too. I said, next time I'm nervous, I'm going to watch this battle scene. Or I'm going to watch another battle scene. I'm going to be like, you know what? If they could do it, I could do this little thing here. What's this to me? You know what I mean? So it was cool. It was full of like encouragement and things like that. We get to the part where they're fighting and he's like getting mad and he's in the armor and he's like, people are perishing all around him. He's like, I led everybody to their deaths. And she's like, don't do that. Fael was like, don't do that. They all chose to fight. They all chose to be here. Again, with the choices that we make, we choose to be here. It would have been worse if you hadn't been here. They would have had nothing, but now they have something to fight for. What are you willing to fight for the Two Rivers? Like, what are you willing to give to this town? And he says, everything. And she's like, well, bet, I got your back then. And then he goes out there and he's like, stay behind me. And she's like, stop trying to protect me. He's like, and get anybody I miss. I was like, let's go. Strong side safety. Single high safety Fael, bro. Clean it up. Anything I leave on the field, clean it up. And she was, bro. That was so cool. She's short and he's tall, but she is so, like, just what she lacks in strength and stature, she makes up for it in just elusiveness. She's like a Black Widow out there. You know, she's moving. Not a spider, but from Marvel, you know, just all over people with them little knives and stuff, just moving them into their own blades and their own weapons and stuff like that. Just Trollocs taking down anything, like legit. He's going full Thor, and she's in the back like Black Widow, right back to back with him. You know, it's just, it was so cool. I mean, I like to see that. Like, he's just, you got the epic music in the back, and then he sees Padan Vane, and then Padan, he kind of laughs a little bit, like, he not gonna get to me. And then he sees how ferocious, like, Perrin's coming with it, and I'm not even sure if he notices Fael in the background just cleaning it up. Let's go, team. And he has two Trollocs by him. Perrin takes them down. He has somebody in mind, and y'all just gonna have to move. And then he's just moving them with ferocious hits. And then Padan, he turns around to run, and Perrin throws his hammer thing at him. I was like, you should be out of here. He threw full force that hammer thing at the back of your head, and it hit. You're out of here, or at least be bleeding. I don't know. Movies do that, shows do that, games do that, dreams do that, and I'm just like, because the way you can stub your toe and be out for at least 2 minutes. He's not turning around to have a conversation with you. He's getting a concussion at the least. Not mild, maximum concussion. He threw a metal hammer at you, a war hammer at you, and it hit. And you fell to the ground. He went over to him. He had his axe, and he was about to get him. He's like, ah! And then Fael's like, get him! And he stops, and he's like, why do you hate us? What did we ever do to you? Why are you doing this? And he's like, I don't care anything about you. And that's even worse. It's like, bro, you don't even have a motivation behind this. You don't have a purpose. You just, yes, sir, to the Dark One. Yes, sir. Oh, this will help you in your plan? Yes, sir. He's just, in that parallel, he's just like the Whitecloaks are if they had like a competent leader or a figure of the light that they could look up to, like a literal figure. It's like, he told me to, so I will. I doubt it would be a girl, but he told me to, so I will. Kind of vibes. And he's like, I never cared about y'all. Y'all mean nothing to me. If the Dark One wants to make the Two Rivers, make an example out of the Two Rivers, just to piss off Brand, basically piss off the dragon, then so be it. And he says that, I'm like, well, take him out. You don't mean nothing to me either. Little whistling boy, tighter than tunes. And Perrin thinks about it for a minute, and he's like, well, I'll make quick work of you or whatever. And he looks like he's about to take him out. He's like, I'll make a deal. And he's like, no, I'll give you a deal. If you call off all your Trollocs, because I know you're controlling them. I know it's you. If you call them off and make them surrender and never come back, then you can keep your life. And he's like, how do you know I'll honor that deal? And he's like, I just know I'll honor my side if you don't do it. And he's like, looks at him for a second. He looks back. Perrin gets off of him and gives him a chance. And then Padan Fane gets up and starts, screeching in the tribal language. Nah, 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 nah. Get on. And then everybody stops fighting and turns around. This was another moment for me where I was like, see how stupid fighting in war is? If all it takes is for your leader to say, stop fighting, turn around, and leave, what are you fighting for? There's no reason for you to be there fighting if all your leader has to say, hey, stop, turn around, let's go. And they let them walk out, obviously, because, you don't want to fight while they're leaving. I was like, get them in the back. Dishonorable. But they were leaving and retreating. Dark Friends turning around. The Whitecloak people who weren't Whitecloak people turning around. Trollocs leaving because they understand the language. They're just walking back through the gate, running through the gate, following Padan Fane. And then the Two Rivers people cheer, and I was like, just look at that. You were ready to take each other's heads off. And they walk right by you, completely disengaged, like droids. Like they'd never had a mind of their own. I'm like, we didn't need to fight. But that's me. Anyway, back to it though. We won! A little bit before the retreat, we see Alanna. She's still suffering women's suffrage. And the girls can't heal her. They just can't, they spent so much of themselves trying to get that hailstorm earlier, giving their power to her. And then they're just unable to touch the power. They're distressed and everything. So we're thinking Alanna's headed out. I was worried. I was stressed. I was like, no. And then Child Valda pops up. He walks by and he walks into the area and he sees the girls first. And he's like, okay, all right, there's girls here. He takes down, he sliced somebody on the way. And then I know he's coming to Alanna and he sees Alanna. He's like, witch, basically in his head. I was like, this is not the time. His hatred toward women with power is crazy. With the one power is just insane and unforgivable at this point. Unforgivable in this life. He sees the girls, he's like, move, children. And then they know him. So they recognize him before he recognizes them. And they're like, for our mother. And they link together and it's fire weaves. And they spit it at him and he goes, ah! I was like, only 2% or only 10% anticlimactic for me. I would have wanted a little bit more dedication to the scene, but I appreciate it. And he's out of here. Just the way he put their mom out of here, he's out of here. And goodbye to him. And if we don't bury him, then we don't. This guy just, get him out of here. So that was another celebration. But as we got our wins here, we have to face our losses. We go back to the WayGate. More people came back talking about, we need reinforcements. This was before the surrender. And Bain and Chiad are out there. They look like they've been fighting waves of people coming in. And then they look at each other and all right, here we go again. They put up their masks and they get to slicing. But they're getting hit now too. Loial is in there trying to beat down the walls from the inside, but he couldn't. Every time he hit it, it wasn't working. He kept turning around over his shoulder and seeing all those torches come closer and closer. The roar's getting closer. 50,000 Trollocs, possibly, there as reinforcements. That's why Padan Fane was like, I'm not worried about y'all. I got reinforcements. And he's like, are you sure about that? This happens during the battle, too. I'm sorry, because we remember seeing the explosion. But basically, Loial, he gets himself together. He does, his scales. And the music slows, and I'm like, wait a second. Oh, are they doing this? Because how is he going to get back? And he does the you shall not pass. We didn't see a body. But he does the you shall not pass on the ground in front of him because he can't break the gate columns for some reason. His hammer keeps ricocheting back. So he gives 3 good ones. And then on the last one, he kind of smiles, knowing that the Trollocs are coming, they're right there close, like the Balrog. And instead of the part that falls, that I thought their parts were going to fall, so that they would just fall and the WayGate would still be there. But it was his part and the WayGate went down together. And it was like... So now the army is stranded, the reinforcements are stranded, and there's no way to get back through that WayGate. So Padan Fane and them are going to have to go on foot. I didn't think about that. But yeah, just... The bookkeeper, reaches his final chapter. I almost want to end it on that, just out of respect. Like that's the biggest L we took. But we get some aftermath of the battle. Perrin realizes then that Loial never came back with Bain, and Chiad did. There was an explosion during the battle, but he wasn't able to address it at the time. Everybody was fighting. He gets up there and he realizes brother. I was gonna call him brother, but hey, Edian, shout out. Loial had left his book there that he was working on, so he never planned on coming back. Somebody in some comments said that him leaving the steading and being so far away from it, he was already headed out, and then closing the WayGate permanently from the inside was going to cut him off even further and kind of sentence him to a long, drawn-out expiration. And he was always planning on heading out, so he left the book there. He wrote about Perrin, Lord of the Two Rivers. And then at the end, he comes back out. They say farewell to Loial, Bain, and Chiad. And they said, life is a dream where you have to wake up in order to sleep again, something like that. And basically, it's goodbye. And then he comes out. The people are there, and Dain shows up with a few of the Whitecloaks saying, hey, you're going to honor your deal. Because way back when they denied coming to help and saying, like, no, we're not about to help, even though it's the right thing, Perrin said, hey, if you come help and be our reinforcements, I'll go with you at the end and face your justice, your light's justice, for what I did to your father. So he came to collect. And he's like, will you turn yourself in? Will you come with us and face justice? And they're like, no, don't. And then he turns around to talk to Loial and just be like, this is my choice. Remember when you made the choice to fight and choose to war and everything? I'm choosing not to fight. Can you respect that? He said, the violence doesn't stop until someone says enough. And then him saying that kind of reconnected with the mom chick who is distant from her son now because he broke the way of the leaf. So she feels a little hope, you know. They do offer for the son to stay in the village and help out, be the blacksmith. But he goes with them. They latch him up and they walk him out of the gates. And they're like, all hail Lord Perrin, GOLDENEYES of the Two Rivers. If you made it to this part of the predictions, thank you and listen up, because here we go. Alright. You got the notes a little better this time. I don't know how these always end up being about an hour. I might not edit this one. I'm just gonna put it up. You're gonna have to deal with the dead silence. I'm sorry, there's so much of it. That's why I end up taking so long editing. But anyway, prediction-wise, I did watch the little afterwards. I watched the little preview for the next episode, so I'm excited about that one. I also watched 6 minutes of the 10-minute little, inside the episode thing with Perrin, or with the guy who plays Perrin and the guy who wrote the show or adapted it, or I don't know. Yeah, the man. And they're talking about it and stuff like that. So I don't really have too many plot holes. There's nothing I'm predicting. I do think the You Shall Not Pass from Loial was permanent. I don't know. I was thinking like maybe he would survive it. But the way people were talking about him already being weak from being away from the steading, I don't know. They might bring him back. They might not. I know it really upset another reactor, Edian. It upset both of them. I haven't seen their reaction yet, but they were riding with him heavy. I know it's like, because I've watched shows and lost favorite characters before too. But this one, it just made me cry a little bit, but I was alright. He may or may not have made it. I'm not sure. I hope we see him again. I'm not sure, so I'm not going to predict that. But as far as predictions go for the next episode, based off the tiny little preview I saw, little spoiler alert, maybe. If you didn't watch it, don't listen to this part. I'm only going to talk about it for like a few seconds. We're going to see it go down. They're going to fight Lanfear. Lanfear's the big baddie of the last episode. Looks like Rand is finally no longer hypnotized by her. And Moiraine's gonna We've been, I know, I'm ready. That's why I'm so sympathetic to Loial people right now, because I'm like, they've been setting my sis up. They've been prepping us. So, shoot, my sis and my other sis too, in the tower. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen to them. I didn't read the books, but it's not looking good. I'm going to be here with you. Dang it. I don't know what to feel, but it's going to be an epic battle. The Aiel are posting up. I think the Shinari, Shiloh, the other ones who split off from them, the more violent ones, I think they're going to try to reject them. Then we're going to get into the part of the prophecy where the Karakarn breaks them and destroys them, but keeps a remnant. And I was like, it's going to be what it is. Is he going to crack? Is he getting crazy? Because he started screaming again, talking about, if you don't follow me, it's going to be the end of you. I was like, man, get it together. Or don't. I don't know. I'm kind of for both. Because I did want to see, like, leading back to Game of Thrones, I did want to see Dany kind of go crazy, but I didn't want to see her go mad. I just wanted to, I don't know what I wanted. I didn't want season 8. That's what I didn't want. With the weird, like, ended up, you know what I mean, with her brother. I was like, okay, here we go. But anyway, and then just not what I wanted. But it's alright though. We'll see with what happens to Rand, and I'm glad he finally listened to Egwene about Lanfear, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. So I think this final episode is going to get back to them. I'm not sure if we're going to see very much of Matt and them. If we do, it's going to end on a cliffhanger. No pun intended, because we did see that vision from Min, so we'll see. I think that'll do it for my predictions. I'm just excited to get to next week, and I really got to get going on some more edits. Probably just going to drop all the episode reactions and reviews together. Sorry I've been so sloppy. I'm doing a lot more than this year than I was last year, so I can't just like sit down and edit and put everything up in the same week. It's just, I'm everywhere, man. But I'm glad y'all are with me. How did you feel about this episode? Perrin. He's the top of my leaderboards right now. This man is my favorite from the Two Rivers. Right now. Fight me. But yeah, and I really like Loial now. I'm cool with it. Alanna, she's just a real OG. I'm glad she's with her mans and everything, and they're good. I'm sad about Loial. I am sad to see him go. Excited for what the future holds. Let me know how you feel. I know some book readers are surprised. Were you surprised? Do you know something I don't know? If you can share something that's not a spoiler, go ahead, drop it in the comments. I got you. All right, appreciate y'all. See you for the finale next week. Peace.